Greetings, everybody. Here's hoping everybody's having an awesome evening tonight. We're just getting ready to get started with a solo podcast. Here's hoping that goes well. Let me just, you are not hearing all of this stuff clambering about, and yet you guys want a studio tour? What the hell? The hell is wrong with you guys? Oh, wait, there's only like a few of you. What the hell's wrong with you? All right. So we'll make this work. Don't worry too much about that. So I hope everybody's having an awesome evening. Happy Friday. I'm sure everybody is to some extent looking forward to the weekend, at least a little bit. And then give me a quick second here. I just want to make sure that I have you guys' chat because I am running late. Because unfortunately on Fridays, I have to run solo. So at that point, I had to make sure that everything was done for the kids before I could do really anything else. So that being said, so we've got this taken care of. I'm going to move this over here because I would like to be able to see what you guys are saying. I know, the audacity of me. Let's see, and then also let's get the live chat from the YouTubes. And I have been getting asked if I'm going to be adding any other streams. I'm not sure yet, but like I said, I do actually have both Spotify and Rumble, or not Spotify, Rumble and Odyssey on there. So we could probably try that out. I'm not against it. But for those who are joining us brand spanking new, welcome. We're happy to have you guys. Let's do this because I want to make sure that I can keep the chat open as well as a browser. So actually, you know what? I don't want to do this, but we're just going to move this over here. Okay. You guys can't see me doing this, but I'm just trying to set up my new interface for solo podcasts because that's going to become a regular thing, I think. At least for the people who didn't mind it. So I'm happy about that. But once again, happy Friday. I hope everybody's having a good day whenever you are listening to this. Well, actually, this part's going to be live and whatnot, but we will take care of the rest in a second. And hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I want to make sure that also is possible, because if not, I'm going to be very, very mad. Yep. I'm coming through, and it's on the right mic. So, yay! Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get shit started. Are we all ready for that? First of all, let me go ahead and turn this up just a little bit.
My calculations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're going to see some serious It has begun!
Calm down, Doctor. Now is not the time for fear.
I am to misbehave.
Give them nothing, but take from them everything!
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk the latest events in Geek for Friday night, March 4th, 2022. I was about to say something else, and it didn't really work out. I am your host, Adam Mickelson, a.k.a. Drak. I hope everybody's having an awesome evening thus far, whenever you guys are listening to this, because some of you guys might be listening from the great beyond, from the wondrous future. Hello, future people, and all that stuff. So thank you guys so much for joining us. And I already can see that we are being joined by a live chat, so welcome, guys. I'm happy to see you guys here. So for the solo podcast, I'm not really planning on doing a whole lot of a whole lot of stories, just because I want to be able to sit back and discuss the ones that I actually did pick out for this week. And this week had a bunch of just boomerish moments that I wanted to make sure to get to. And without further ado, well, actually, I'm going to let you guys gather. I can already see a few people in here. It is good to see you guys. But yeah, like I said, I don't have too many stories to go over. I guess we can actually start getting into them, but let's go ahead and get into the top story of the evening, and people will join as we come along. Let's see. So, give me a second to pull off some stream magic. All right, so our top story of the evening is... this is actually coming from Bounding Into Comics, but plenty of other places have been covering this. GOG, Microsoft, and Bloober Team, as well as CD Projekt Red, suspend sales in Russia following the Ukraine invasion. Oh my goodness! I'll get into opinions and stuff like that as we go along, but I have no problem saying this is kind of funny in a weird way. So without further ado, I'm just fixing Windows because I am boomering the hell out of this, and why the hell not? Wouldn't I do that? Okay, so that should help a little bit more. So let's go ahead and read into this because you guys apparently like me reading boring articles. So again, this comes from Bounding Into Comics, our buddies over at Bounding Into Comics. GOG, Microsoft, Bloober Team, as well as CD Projekt Red, because they started this, have announced that they are suspending sales of their products in Russia over the invasion of Ukraine. Dun, dun, dun! Yes, in case you guys have not been keeping up with current events. Initially, CD Projekt Red, owned by CD Projekt, as GOG is released... Wow, that's kind of a bad sentence there. Has released their condemnation of Russia along with others in the Western gaming industry. The recent invasion on Ukraine, our friends and neighbors, left us shocked and outraged, CD Projekt Red tweeted. And we actually have all of the tweets in here because of the article. So I want to make sure that when I get into the commentary here, my criticisms are not towards CD Projekt Red. CD Projekt Red is a Polish company. They are basically right next to this. This is very local to them, but as I'm going to get into with places like Xbox, it doesn't really make sense for them to be as invested in this. Instead, it comes off rather forced. So, in solidarity with all victims of this act of aggression, the CD Projekt Group has decided to support humanitarian aid efforts by donating 1 million, I'm guessing that's Polish dollars, to the PAH organization, Polska Akcja Humanitarna. If I murdered that, I am so sorry, Polish people. We cannot remain indifferent in the face of such injustice, and we ask everybody to join in and help in any way you can. Together, we can make a huge difference. Except to Vladimir Putin. Because I don't think he's going to care about any of this. However, it does seem the Polish-based CD Projekt felt they could do more themselves. 6 days later, GOG, or if people don't know what I'm talking about because you're not on that platform, and you should be, for crying out loud, it's actually a good platform, Good Old Games, announced drastic action against the gamers of Russia and Belarus. In light of the Russian military invasion in our neighboring country of Ukraine, until further okay, that's right, because GOG is actually based in Eastern Europe as well. Until further notice, the CD Projekt Group has made the decision to halt all sales of our games to Russia and to Belarus. So today we begin working with our partners to suspend all digital sales and cease physical stock deliveries of CD Projekt Group products, GOG stated, as well as all games distributed on the GOG platform to the territories of Russia and Belarus. The entire CD Projekt Group stands firm with the people of Ukraine. While we are not a political entity capable of directly influencing state matters and don't aspire to be one, thank you for at least being honest, we do believe that commercial entities, when united, have the power to inspire global change in the hearts and minds of ordinary people, except for Vladimir Putin. We know that players in Russia and Belarus, individuals who have nothing to do with the invasion of Ukraine, will be impacted by this decision, and we are punishing them for no damn reason. But with this action, we fish? Okay, you can tell it's Friday, people. So we wish to further galvanize the global community to speak out about what is going on in the heart of Europe. To our brothers and sisters fighting for their home, stay strong. But also adding, they also added, I'm not even going to try and murder that word, but it is translated to glory to Ukraine. So basically, this is actually spurred on a big media movement to handle this, because not only are people suspending game sales, you also had the major film companies reach out and basically say, we're not releasing any major movies in Russia because of their invasion of Ukraine. As you'll find out as we go along here, Microsoft actually got involved. I believe Sony's also involved at this point. All of basically are suspending any transactions in light of Russia's actions. And I know I make light of the fact that they are basically punishing the citizenry. They're not punishing Vladimir Putin in this regard. They really aren't. Because this is not necessarily the part of the economy that Putin cares about. I can guarantee you that other parts of the Russian economy are paying for whatever invasions that he wants to do. This is just basically something that's a little bit of a bonus in the Russian economy, and it doesn't really pan out to too much. Because I guarantee you, if Putin cared, which he doesn't, Putin wouldn't give a crap. Or Putin would actually stop this, but obviously he's not doing that. And as we can see from Kenobi Stig, also on this article, Disney shot a movie next to an... no, this is actually in relation later, but it later does kind of reference the fact that Russia is being banned from movie releases, game releases, those media markets. I believe even the streaming services, they were the last ones to kind of join in. But like Netflix and Amazon are also banning use of their system of their apps in Russia. So let's actually go into this one. So Disney shot a movie next to an active concentration camp in China. They thanked China for it. Actually, I probably better back up here and give people a little bit more. Sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. It's almost like I've never done this live. It seemed not everyone was happy with the decision, however, and condemned it as mere virtue signaling, which, guys, reality, it is. It really is. Disney shot a movie next to an active concentration camp in China, and they thanked China for it. For those who don't know what this is talking about, this is in reference to the live-action Mulan, which was actually filmed next to a Uyghur slave camp. So yeah, good on that. Now take actions against China and Disney, please. And this is in reference to Kenobi Stig, who is basically saying, take actions against China and Disney, please. We want a consistent virtue signal going on. Otherwise, it would just be hypocritical. And I'll get into that in a minute. GOG had previously backed out of selling indie horror game Devotion, which had previously been pulled from sale over an Easter egg allegedly mocking Chinese President Xi Jinping. Because we can't mock Winnie the Pooh. We can't mock President Winnie the Pooh. That's not possible. So, Retroactive GM also does a reply on this one. So, nah, this ain't it. You're punishing Russian and Belarusian gamers for something which, by your own admission, has absolutely nothing to do with them. Which it does not. If you really want to make a difference, you could donate your profits from Russia and Belarus to the Ukrainian social causes. Which they kind of are doing, but not really. Jeez, this feels like just the biggest old virtual... This feels as disingenuous as when all the companies come out in June for Pride Month and basically say, we just care about the gay community. And then 30 days later, they immediately go, okay, who's the next demographic that we've got to milk? Who? Oh, is it that one? Okay, cool. We're going to go ahead and do that. So disingenuous. But we also have some more stuff from Petan Enjoyer. I hope your country never goes to war, because it's quickly looking like if you happen to live in the wrong side of the war, virtually all your online services will be revoked. Because of a war you have literally no power to stop, even if you're not involved. This is insane. And I know exactly why they're doing this. At least the viewpoint is kind of clear, where they're immediately assuming that the Russian public is agreeing with the invasion simply because Putin said we must do this. And, well, if it was an ideal society, that probably wouldn't happen. You would have disagreements in there. And in the case of Russia, you would probably have them become political prisoners. So at that point, yeah, not everybody agrees with this, and it doesn't make sense to do old school World War II tactics, which is basically what you're doing. You're saying that Nazi Germany was complicit with Hitler's actions, and there was still a portion of Nazi Germany that didn't agree with Hitler in those regards, and they got punished too. So maybe you ought to consider that concept. Similar criticisms calls for charitable donations rather than exclusion of civilians, which is really the direction that a lot of these guys should be going, were levied at others who had denied sale of their products in Russia. This includes Polish developer Bloober Team. Dear community, as the Russian unprovoked invasion of Ukraine continues, killing defenders and civilians alike, we at Bloober Team have decided to stop selling our titles in Russia and Belarus across all platforms. We've been working with our partners to put the games down from the stores in these countries. The ban coming into effect first on Steam. Our hearts are with the Ukrainian people, and this is one of several steps we're currently taking to support them. Okay, this is a very bass-ackwards way to support them, but I'll get to that in a minute with Bloober Team. We understand that our decision might affect many Russian and Belarusian players who are not involved in this invasion. You're affecting all of them! But we strongly believe that every step that can help stop the war is worth taking. And how is this going to stop the war? Are you hoping, are you hoping to have kind of an after effect, like a ripple effect happen here? Because, like, if Mario Kart ended, then we know that one of Biden's granddaughters would be very sad about that. Maybe even Biden. I doubt that. I don't think he's competent enough to be able to play Mario Kart and not just and know everything that he's doing. But I think that's what they're basically hoping, is that they'll affect the brother of Putin who has a son that is a gamer, and therefore it will affect Putin. Not really how that works, boys and girls. I'm pretty sure Putin has his convictions, and at that point, he's going to keep pushing this. I don't think this is going to stop that. This includes showing a full solidarity with the Ukrainian people, both with words and actions, as well as creating pressure on the Russian and Belarusian public opinion. And you're not going to do that in the slightest, and even if you did, Putin wouldn't care. I'm not really bringing in Belarus into this because I believe Belarus is owned by Russia, basically. Or they're a staunch friend of Belarus. Belarus is a staunch friend. Belarus is also a staunch friend of Belarus, but they're also a staunch friend of Russia. We believe a global joint resistance can help make a difference, led by Jean-Claude Van Damme. No, I'm kidding. We want to be a part of a world that doesn't turn a blind eye to warmongering. And we won't stay neutral when human lives are at stake. Finally, Microsoft stepped in and suspended sales in Russia. So this is from President and Vice Chair Brad Smith. Like the rest of the world, we are horrified, angered, and saddened by the images and news coming from the war in Ukraine and condemn this unjustified, unprovoked, and completely not affecting us whatsoever unlawful invasion by Russia. In addition to the previously... Guys, dear gaming world, you're not the UN. You're not. You're in the business. I hate to be the guy here, but you're in the business of making money. And it doesn't necessarily matter who that money's coming from. This is virtue signaling of the highest order, and it's stupid. It's stupid. It's kind of disgusting, but it's mostly stupid. Like the rest of the world, never mind. In addition to the previously announced efforts to counteract cyber attacks and state-sponsored disinformation, but we have no problem with our state-sponsored disinformation, Microsoft are coordinating closely and working in lockstep with the governments of the United States, the European Union, and the United Kingdom, and we are stopping many aspects of our business in Russia in compliance with governmental sanctions and decisions. But hey, they still have their China divisions, so you know that that's okay. We believe we are most effective in aiding Ukraine when we take concrete steps in coordination with the decisions being made by these governments. And we will take additional steps as this situation continues to evolve. So, we can finally get into opinion stuff. This is bullshit. This is bullshit of the highest order. Because it does absolutely nothing. All you are doing is hurting the Russian citizens who have no say in this, because whether Putin wants to admit it or not, he's a fucking dictator. and he is going to do what he wants to do for the betterment of his nation, which more than likely means for the betterment of him. So at that point, you are punishing a bunch of people who are not involved, who have no say in the decision-making process, in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, you'll hit a family member in the fact that they couldn't go on Steam and get, I don't know, Cyberpunk 2077, okay? Now, I'm not condemning what GOG and CD Projekt Red are doing. They are in the middle of this, all right? This is how they want to do it. It still wouldn't work as far as I'm concerned, but this is one of those things where they can make a rash judgment, and it makes sense because this is happening in their backyard. Microsoft stepping in, however, is so fucking disingenuous. Xbox does not give a shit. Microsoft does not give a shit about what goes on in Russia. You are in the business of making money, and therefore, the more people that buy Windows, the better. And if that means that you have to sell it to a bunch of Russian citizens that maybe agree with Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine, well, so be it. That's the way that the world works. And so all you're doing is punishing a bunch of people who have no say in the matter whatsoever. And instead, what you should be doing is basically what was said in this article. You should be taking the proceeds from those game sales and putting it towards relief efforts for the Ukrainian people. And you're not doing that. I mean, earlier in the story, they basically did say that they were going to put a portion of that towards Ukrainian relief efforts. But wouldn't it be great if you had a consistent effort that was going towards Ukrainian relief? But no, we can't make sense when we do all this. Seriously, the rest of the world is... Like, if anybody has ever seen the series MASH, and I recommend that you guys do, because MASH has a really great way of kind of questioning the U.S. military, except now the rest of the world acts like the U.S. military did in those areas. So we actually do have some discussion from our live chat. Have you seen the ruble? Russians can't afford Windows or Xbox anymore. No, they can't. That's why they hack everything. MS would make no money staying in the Russian market these days. Okay, then leave. Okay, then leave. These actions still don't make sense. I mean, I agree with you. The ruble's in the tanks, but at the same time, this still doesn't make sense. And Russia's going to do what Russia's going to do. This isn't going to stop anything. So what you've basically made the argument for is that Microsoft shouldn't be there in the first place. They're not making any money. And again, they shouldn't care about Russia. Because nobody's buying their stuff. If they're buying it, they're buying it on the black market. Oh, wait, money is money. Again, they shouldn't even be involved in this. It makes no sense for them to be there. So at that point, I'm still sticking with what I'm saying. You should take the proceeds of said games, like for 3 months, and have any proceeds of purchases to The Witcher 3 go towards Ukrainian relief. Makes sense. That's a lot of money that can go into the hands of Ukrainians. I'm totally on board with that. So with that being said, the other thing that I kind of want to bring up here, if you're saying that all Microsoft cares is about is money, there's no money in Russia, they leave, so no big deal. Well, yeah, I'm saying that. I'm saying they're a business, and a business is there to make money. But again, you're kind of so I'm having a discussion with Audacity here. Okay, Microsoft doesn't care about Russia. Why suspend sales in Russia and Belarus? If they don't care about Russia, why suspend sales? Instead, go this direction of putting the proceeds towards Ukrainian relief. But you're punishing a citizenry that may not exactly agree with Putin, or can't even afford to disagree with Putin at this point. So, again, making a political statement, a lame one at that. I have no problem saying that, a lame one. And it doesn't solve any problem. And I'd also like to point out that, okay, earlier on in this story, we covered yet another problem that really hasn't had anything happen there. okay, if Russia's being bad, China's been bad for years. Why are we still doing business with them? I mean, I know why. I get it. A lot of our coffers are in there, including Hollywood. But if we're in the business of suspending sales of theatrical release dates, video games, and things like that, then why isn't China on that list? Why are gaming companies still going for the Chinese market? Because I can guarantee you that, yes, Russia has done plenty of stuff in the past that is worth of this. I'm pretty sure China also goes hand in hand with that, and in fact probably has even an even worse resume there. So at that point, why aren't we suspending stuff with China? I mean, just throwing it out here, let's suspend sales of all video games to China for their actions towards Hong Kong. Let's suspend all sales for their treatment of Taiwan. Let's be consistent here. If we're just going to, because at this point, there's a lot more to it than that, and I can guarantee you I know why the U.S. is probably going to get involved with Ukraine, and that's just because Joe Biden has coffers in Ukraine. And that's why Russia's movements are just so bad right now. Besides, Russians are good at killing their leaders when they're mad at them. Sometimes. I mean, Putin should have been dead years ago. Putting their economy in the tank may set the preconditions for a change in leadership. Not really. I disagree. You are not going to have a change in leadership that well. Putin has covered his bases way too well. Former KGB, yeah, he ain't going anywhere unless the Russian military wants him to go. And the Russian military, I believe, is in cahoots with him. They love him. While China is bad, they're not likely to carpet bomb cities into the ground over the next week or two. Yes, they are. I mean, in the next week or two, probably not. But if Hong Kong continues to resist absorbing into China, if Taiwan continues to do that, yeah, they will. China has no problem carpet bombing its own citizens. So at that point, like, again, it's kind of moot. I still think you ought to be consistent here. Otherwise, just do what I basically said in this article. Put the proceeds towards relief efforts if you want to be able to do that, because none of this is going to do anything in that regard. You are not going to affect Putin by having Halo not purchasable in Russia. He doesn't care. So, yeah, this is all a fruitless effort, and frankly, it is virtue signaling of the stupidest order. This is as stupid as having M&Ms come out in support of gay people only in June. But as soon as June 30th rolls around, and it's now July 1st, that support's gone at that point. But for 30 days, it's like, we support the gay community, and we love you guys just so much. We're going to create a gay M&M, and then nothing happens after that. Oh, you were supposed to create a gay M&M. Were we? I guess it just got lost in the pipe dream. That's what this is coming across as. And at that point, I'm just, yeah, people are digging their holes, and they have every right to be able to go dig their holes. That's just the way of the world. I can't necessarily stop that, but I can laugh at them while they do it. I have no problem doing that at the very least. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the next story that we have here. This one I'm actually very keen on talking about because I love it when game developers or even owners of game devs make absolute asses of themselves. So let me go ahead and bring this up. It's just easier to be able to do it this way. Let's see. There we go. So this comes from GameSpot. So in case people didn't know this, the DICE Awards for 2022, I believe, happened in the last week. Yeah, last week. And so one of the things that did actually happen there was they gave a Lifetime Achievement Award to Xbox's Phil Spencer. I love Uncle Phil because sometimes he makes really good decisions. I will say this right off the bat. Xbox is leading the backwards compatibility movement right now. They have done more for it. And granted, a lot of that is because they don't have too many Xbox consoles compared to Sony's PlayStation consoles or Nintendo's consoles. So that's not saying a lot. I get it. But at the same time, he's actually taking an effort and trying to keep backwards compatibility as a big thing. So I'll give him that credit. But, well, Uncle Phil also makes bad decisions, like purchasing failing companies like Blizzard. After receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award at DICE 2022 last week, Xbox CEO Phil Spencer commented on how the gaming community should treat developers with dignity and respect. Okay. Keep playing, keep using your voice, understand the power of creativity, the power of community. And the other thing I would just say is, let's respect creators. I think it's very often that creations can be kind of weaponized and used in battles between platforms and other things. I look at everybody who is brave enough to create something, put it out, have their peers, the industry players, play and analyze and talk about what they do, and let's just celebrate the fact that so many great games are coming out from so many creators and realize that's such a foundation for where this industry is going to go. This isn't the first time that Spencer has spoken out about toxicity in gaming and not really known what he's talking about, having previously discussed how Microsoft would like to help get rid of bad actors in the online gaming landscape by creating a multi-network program that could extend Xbox bans to networks from other companies, basically banning free speech. And here's the thing, free speech is allowed in the United States of America, and you can't really ban that. While this idea would be a hard one to achieve, the alternative would be a system that allows players to bring their banned user list with them to another platform. Okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. But you're also talking about banning people for saying stupid shit. And unfortunately, you live in the United States of America. We can't do that. In case you missed this, the 25th Annual DICE Awards once again honored some of the best games that have been released in the previous year. After winning big at the Game Awards, It Takes Two took the prestigious Game of the Year award in a night that also saw Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart and Returnal and Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy scoop up various other awards for technical and artistic excellence, which, for the record, they should. I haven't played It Takes Two yet, but I've seen enough of it to be able to tell you guys it did deserve to be Game of the Year. It was a cute little idea that was also playing on the strengths of, was it No Way Out? No, A Way Out. It was playing on those strengths as well as being able to tell a completely different story in that regard. So I will give that credit. I believe that Rift Apart did not get any recognition at the Game Awards, and therefore, yes, it should be getting some recognition for that. Returnal, I believe, did, and Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, did, but I might be wrong on those, because I don't have the winners right up off the top of my head here. So, let's actually get into this, shall we? Treat game developers with dignity and respect. I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think everybody should be treated with dignity and respect. The problem is that you also are going to have... right now, basically what you're saying is that it's one-sided. And frankly, that's not accurate. It's not one-sided. There are snot-nosed brats that are gamers. There are also snot-nosed brats that are game developers. There are also snot-nosed brats that are game journalists. So at that point, you can't just acknowledge that it's one particular piece of the audience. It's not. And frankly, it's way bigger to fix than what Phil Spencer is saying just in this article or that he said in the past. And in some cases, some of the things that he is referring to as a solution, like banning free speech, which he can't do, wouldn't solve the problem. As we've seen censorship happen on other platforms, and all that happens is that people find ways around it so that they can continue to say whatever they want. Oh, okay, well, we can't actually say the N-word. We'll find ways to be able to space it in there so that we can. And it doesn't matter how many ways that you adapt it. They will find other ways to be able to say it. in these cases, I'm all for being able to mute people. That is also an action of free speech. And in fact, more people should consider doing that. One of the things I actually don't like about content creation when I talk to people is that for some reason there's a universal rule that you are not allowed to ban anybody. Well, ban's not the proper word. You're not allowed to mute people for saying stupid shit. And I tend to disagree in this regard. I do think that if somebody's making an ass of themselves, and you have a mute button that is available, that is an action of free, like just as much as that person being an asshole is an action of free speech, my action of pressing the mute button is also me enacting my free speech to say, I don't give a care, or I don't give two shits what he's saying. So at that point, I think muting is the way to go, but you can't just like, somebody puts out a message saying like the N-word 40 bajillion times. Yes, it's stupid. Should you ban it? No, because here's the thing. The community is going to do their job in this regard, and Microsoft technically doesn't have to do anything in that regard. And it's not like, again, if this was a United States case and somebody did that and they sent Microsoft to court, I'm pretty sure Microsoft would win because they let the free speech stay on there. But if they banned it, then there would be a case for this person to get damages. Because freedom of speech exists in the United States of America. We don't have to like what those people are saying, but they get to say it. Nonetheless, that's why I'm saying it's also a counteraction of using my speech to be able to mute them for being an idiot. Because I've done that plenty. I follow the policy of great sages such as CM Punk on Twitter. Twitter is my front window. If I don't like what you're saying, I close my front window. It's that simple. I've muted plenty of people who have not necessarily had constructive criticism of me. Instead, they just want to sit there and go, yeah, you're fat and you have a small penis. Okay. Doesn't mean I have to sit here and listen to you if I think you have stupid ideas. I can easily mute you. If you block, well, I still think that that's also an act of free speech, but I can see the argument where blocking outright would be, and can be characterized as you want to censor. I still think it's way within the purview. Back onto this, though, the relationship with devs and gamers is a fickle one. Because, yes, you can have assholes as gamers. But the greatest irony of it is that, in the end, yeah, dude's an asshole, but you as the game company won. Because you got him to pay $60. Or his friend to pay $60. I mean, if he straight up pirated it, there's enough measures that are being put in game companies' software that they're just not able to play those games. So at that point, you win again because they weren't able to play that game. And I know that hackers continue to evolve that. So does the gaming industry. They still make it very difficult for you to be able to play a hacked copy of a game, and you just get stuck. Or your IP gets banned, or there's a number of actions that I know that they go into. But you can't just treat it like it's one-sided. Because here's the thing. In the gaming world, individuals like James Romine exist. Where they get the slightest bit of criticism, and they will immediately start threatening lawsuits across the board. And then in turn, we'll get people like Jim Sterling. I hate using this example because Jim Sterling is so fucking irrelevant, it's sad. But you'll get somebody like Jim Sterling who goes into the code of your game and finds out, oh yeah, I don't think it was him, but we found out that they used recycled blood effects in their Slaughtering Grounds game by James Romine. So at that point, you can't just make this one-sided and say that only the game developer... no game developers are at fault. It's all just the mean old gamers. That's ridiculous. Because, yes, gamers can be part of that, but so can game devs. If we... let's just take your logic into account. So basically what you're saying is that if people just shout the N-word, that you just ban them right off the bat. Okay, or they have opinions that you disagree with. Do you know how many people, Phil, bought Xboxes that don't agree with your political beliefs? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm going to guarantee you it's a lot. So what are you going to do? Suspend their Xbox service because you don't agree with them? Wow, that's awful dickish. Also taterish. Because maybe they've supported you for years and it's never mattered that, you know, they just happen to be Republican and you happen to be Democrat. I don't even know where Phil Spencer stands, but I'm guessing. Because I believe he does live in the Washington offices. But, yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do that. Also, from a business sense standpoint, it doesn't really make sense to do it because you're in the business to make money. You have made a product, you've put it out on the marketplace, and you want to make money. Why would you create a hostile environment to incentivize people to not buy your product? It's a bad idea overall. And in those cases, you might be considered at fault. I even remember when, I can't remember the developer, but the developer of We Happy Few, when some constructive criticism was offered to them because there were breaks, there were game-breaking bugs in that game when it released. And they got called out for it, and immediately, they didn't threaten lawsuits, but they did threaten to ban, they did threaten to report, they threatened all that stuff. I think they even threatened to dox these people so it's on Twitter so that the blue hairs on Twitter would go and get them. And again, that's not a good thing to start doing. Okay. If we don't like swatting, just wait until people start showing up at your door because you have an opinion that they tend to disagree with. It's not going to work out there. And you need to acknowledge that this is not necessarily just a problem that's one-sided. It's both sides. There are James Romines, Cory Balrog, I can already say right off the bat, he pissed off a bunch of people a couple of months ago because he's a pro-choice guy. You don't think that there are people who buy God of War that are pro-life? And he actively condemned a fellow developer for stating his stance on abortion. I even called out Cory Balrog. I can't remember if it's Balrog or Barlog. I even called him out for that because you have prospective buyers that aren't going to agree with you. So what? They don't get to play God of War. Well, okay. God of War's not going to do well because you haven't opened up the audience to everybody. And in turn, and here's the thing, some people can support you and still disagree with you. Otherwise, people like Cory Barlog would not be successful. You know, look, 80% of the creative profession, politically, I don't agree with. I don't. Creatively, I agree with them because I can tend to be very creatively liberal when it comes to that stuff. I do have limits, cuties, but I'm willing to let you go the direction that you want to go as long as it's the story that you want to tell. I'm more against people interfering with what you want to tell. So at that point, I don't have a problem supporting him on the creative end. I do have a problem with the common sense argument that you want to immediately ban people from playing your game or being able to purchase your product simply because they have a political disagreement with you. It's just bad business. Bottom line, it's just plain bad business. And so in that case, I would strongly advise that Phil Spencer really reconsider his stance on this. It's not just gamers picking on game developers. It's game developers picking on gamers. And also, it's a gaming journalism problem there's an overarching gaming journalism problem that also needs to be fixed in that whole scape. Because you can't just have blanket contracts of like, don't mock us. You have to submit your video to us first and we get to criticize it, and stuff like that happens in the gaming industry a lot now. And that shouldn't happen either. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into the next story that we have here. And I have a feeling that I also might be doing a post show tonight. And if you guys have additional questions, you are more than welcome to ask them there. So let's go ahead and get into the next one, which is an update on the Bendergate situation. For those who don't know, I will bring you up to speed. Don't worry. So What's this? Okay. I got people messaging me while I'm actually doing a podcast. What the hell is wrong with you? Here we go. So, Futurama, John DiMaggio will return, officially ending Bendergate. So, for those who do not know what Bendergate was, Hulu was looking to revive Futurama for the second time. For those, just to bring people up to speed, Fox first had it, and then Comedy Central brought back Futurama for a couple of seasons, and now Hulu's looking to do, I think it's a shorter season of Futurama, and so they're looking to do that, and they were bringing back all of the cast, except they hadn't brought back John DiMaggio, who plays the beloved character Bender. And so at that point, a lot of people wondered, okay, is it just because they're not even going out to hire him? We found out later that it was because they were actually still in negotiations over money for John DiMaggio to come back, because Bender's a beloved character. And heaven forbid he knows that he's playing a beloved character. He asked for more money. How dare he? How dare you, John DiMaggio? He even had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to ask that maybe you ought to pay the rest of the cast more. Revolutionary thought. And I know that some people had questions about, because we specifically last week when we talked about Bendergate, we talked about the fact that the Simpsons cast, like, they had to take on multiple roles, and a lot of people pointed out that, you know, the Simpsons cast is kind of not a good example. I wanted to bring them up because of the fact that they still were kind of basic voice actors when the series happened, and they had to take on multiple roles to be able to add on to that. But we also left out the little details of, like, oh, John Castellaneta gets to be able to get a ton of different cameo roles throughout various Fox series. That does happen. Like, they're well taken care of, except for Hank Azaria out, because how dare he play an Indian man? So at that point, John DiMaggio was just trying to get something good for him too, because he knows that he plays a beloved character. He knows how beloved Futurama is. Obviously, Hulu's looking to bring them back. So at that point, he held out for more money. Now let's get the updates so far. So the Futurama revival coming to Hulu will return with its full voice cast, including John DiMaggio, who has agreed to reprise his role as Bender. And I've looked up to see if we have any kind of agreement. I doubt we're going to have anything. Just to be honest with you guys, I doubt that they're going to say anything. I think all of this is going to be behind closed doors. There's going to be NDAs. Maybe we'll find out years later, but it would be great to be able to know if Hulu eventually kind of capitulated and said, yeah, we need to pay you guys a little bit more, or if they just said, take it or leave it, and he just decided to do it, which would be sad. According to Deadline, DiMaggio has signed on to return to Futurama in the upcoming 20-episode revival season, which I do think is a shorter season than what would happen, but it's kind of a streaming season. He will once again voice Bender, a bending unit with a penchant for booze, gambling, and any other kind of vice. This means Futurama will have its original voice cast when the series returns to Hulu. When a revival series was announced, DiMaggio was the only voice actor not yet signed to return, which people took as, because we didn't know about the negotiations, they took it as, oh, you're not bringing back Bender? Well, that's bullshit. And that caused people to ask more questions, and John DiMaggio clarified and said, no, it's because of money. So they're talking about the recasting. However, DiMaggio asked the studio pay him, as well as the cast, more for their services, particularly since Futurama and characters like Bender are so beloved. DiMaggio revealed that he was negotiating with producers for a better contract. Not in the wrong. They tried to play John DiMaggio like he was in the wrong, but I don't see the problem. Voice actors, they really do get a bad rep, or a bad rap when it comes to actors and things like that. And thankfully, I'm so happy that actors like Patrick Stewart and Patrick Warburton, all the Patricks, all of those actors are starting to realize, yeah, they kind of get a bum deal. And so at that point, we are starting to see changes in that industry going in their favor, because there are beloved voice actors that have worked for decades and just have worked for bottom dollar because they were the bottom of the acting food chain, because Hollywood deemed that, which is absolutely stupid. So I'm glad that he stood up for himself, and he asserted that, I know you're bringing this back for a reason, and you want me to play a character that is beloved. Yeah, I want more money. The saga resulted in a social media campaign called Bendergate, or hashtag Bendergate, which DiMaggio also used while addressing the situation. According to producers, plans to recast the role never went far, and producers table read for Bender while negotiations with DiMaggio continued, which is technically a practice that some film companies would do. I could totally see Fox doing this. I could see Comedy Central doing this, because anything can make it fall apart. And so at that point, you need to have a backup plan. You can't just rely on being able to get John DiMaggio back. So I'm not knocking them for making this decision. You have to at least start casting in that process. And yes, Twitter can take that as, okay, you don't want to cast back Bender, but we just didn't know the information. So DiMaggio announced the news by saying, "I'm back, baby," probably in the Bender voice in Twitter, and thanked fans, colleagues, and his wife for being able to return to the role. Hashtag Bendergate is officially over, so put it on the back of the shelf behind Xmas decorations, or maybe in the kitchen drawer with all the other crap you put in there, like old unusable crazy glue, or maybe put it in a jar you save farts in. What? Jeez, don't reference those. God damn it. Whatever floats your boat, I don't care. You get the picture. I'm back, baby. Bite my shiny metal ass. So is it safe to say that that's exactly what Hulu did? They bit his shiny metal ass? I'd like to think so. Futurama is an animated sci-fi comedy from The Simpsons creator Matt Groening about a 20th century pizza delivery boy who finds himself in the year 3000 and yet becomes a package delivery boy. He joins an intergalactic delivery team alongside his best friend Bender and Captain Leela. DiMaggio will join the original cast members Billy West, who plays like 4 roles in that show anyway. Katie Seagal, I believe that's Peggy, so that'd be Leela. Tress MacNeille, Maurice LaMarche, Lauren Tom, Phil Lamar, and David Herman. And some of which are also very acclaimed voice actors and have not gotten their proper rap. Hey, at least they're not anime voice actors. Anime voice actors are even less on there. They're the dirt on the boot of Hollywood actors when it comes to treatment. So overall, I'm very happy for John DiMaggio. I really wish we could get a finalized agreement that happened, and I know that's not going to happen. But it would be so great to be able to be a fly on that wall in the negotiation room or the negotiation Zoom when they were talking about this, because I would love to see John DiMaggio assert himself and say, "Look, guys, I know why you're bringing it back, because Futurama is popular. And one of the reasons it's popular is because Bender. So at that point, if you want me back, you got to pay me more money." And I would just like to be able to see that. And I'm hoping what happened here, and have no evidence of it, is that that Hulu did cave and say, "Oh yeah, we're going to bring you back, and we're going to increase the pay." Are they going to increase the pay of the other actors? Don't know. Did they increase the pay of Bender? Don't know. Ultimately, a decision has been made, and I hope to hear about it in the years to come, but I would love to hear it now, especially on John DiMaggio's end, because John DiMaggio didn't have any problem saying what it was about. So at that point, it would be great for him to just kind of assert himself and say, "Well, yeah, it was over money, and yes, I did get an extra bit of money per episode." That'd be a great thing. Knowing our luck, however, it probably means that Bender is going to be severely cut down in appearances so that they can accommodate it and also stay on budget. It's almost like they should be spending their budgets properly, which some streaming services have problems doing. So that being said, congratulations to John DiMaggio. Here's hoping that you got everything you wanted. Here's hoping that the cast is getting a lot better treatment there. Does this mean that I'm immediately going to go watch the Futurama Hulu season? Probably not. I have to be honest here. I didn't even watch the Animaniacs season that they did. I think they've even got a season 2 in the works. Just because I knew that it was going to be toned down and it was going to not be essentially what Animaniacs was. And I think the same thing is going to happen here. I think it's going to be exactly what I fear is Hulu's interpretation of Futurama, and it's not going to be the same. I can even say to some extent, like, while the Comedy Central seasons do have good episodes, I'm not denying that. it overall does have a different feel and a different vision compared to the Fox seasons. And the Fox seasons are the ones I feel the most love for, because those are, I could still open those up at any given moment and still laugh at them. They're great. And Hulu's probably just going to have that same problem. So it's a really difficult situation to be in, but I hope it's good. I hope that people enjoy this, and who knows, maybe once I hear that John DiMaggio officially did get more money out of it, maybe I'll pick it up and try it out. I'm just a little worried because the last Hulu series I picked up was that MODOK one with oh crap, what's his name? Dude who played the rat in Ratatouille. I can't remember his name, but he played MODOK, and that was so hard to watch. It wasn't even funny. Like, maybe it had a couple of really good Marvel stabs, but it just wasn't good. So, unfortunately, they did not hire the right chimpanzees to write a comedy show, I hate to say. That being said, let's go ahead and get into the next one. These are the stories that I have tonight, but we can also get into commentary of other stories as well. And once again, this also comes from our buddies over at Bounding Into Comics. I wanted to talk about this one because I do see this actually becoming a little bit more of a movement than people want to admit. And that is Star Trek fan launches petition to have Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek designated as non-canon. So a Star Trek fan has launched a petition to have the live-action Star Trek shows created by producer Alex Kurtzman designated as non-canon. Star Trek fan Anna G created the petition on change.org, which we can bring up here for a second. I would like to give her some credit here. Designate Kurtzman as non-canon. Wow, 6,000 people have signed it. They need to get to 7,500 signatures. Should we read this first? Okay, let's actually do that, and then we'll get back to the article. My fellow Trekkies and Trekkers, as you probably are aware, we have entered a new era of Star Trek, if one could call it that. New Trek, or Star Trek Discovery and Picard, I'm not considering Lower Decks because it's meant to be a joke, blatantly disregard Gene Roddenberry's vision for a utopian, moral, and optimistic future. Star Trek Discovery betrays the principles upon which Star Trek was based. In the past, we've seen Kirk and Picard always offer a helping hand, even to those who would be considered enemies. And when they each had their own prejudices, Kirk's racism against the Klingons for his son's death, and Picard's hatred of the Borg for his assimilation, they learned that hatred and violence were wrong, and they both disregard their own plots of revenge because in the future, humans are taught to resist prejudice and to honor life. In Discovery, we see protagonists sadistically torture, call crew members who have died idiots, and belittle others who are below them in rank. Almost like it's post-apocalyptic writing all over again. In Star Trek Picard, we see sexism in the name of female empowerment. We see addiction, glorified poverty present, and bigotry on behalf of Starfleet. Not to mention the fact that they didn't learn from the lessons of the past, but then again, I guess this is all based in the fucking Kelvin timeline or whatever. We also see a disrespect for the dead. And I haven't even touched upon Alex Kurtzman's eye torture fetish he keeps throwing in. And I haven't even gone over the blatant disregard for a pre-established canon and the abysmal story writing. This man, Alex Kurtzman, and his work are a waste of our time. If you are a true Star Trek fan, you don't approve of this, you're gatekeeping. Yes, I am. Can you look at this new Star Trek and the examples I've given and say that it aligns with Gene Roddenberry's vision? No, you can't. Don't even try. She's right. I don't agree entirely with all of Gene Roddenberry's philosophy. I mean, in all honesty, after doing my homework on the matter, I don't think that utopian society is even remotely possible. But yeah, it does not align with what Roddenberry was trying to do. What will this petition do? Probably nothing. At least you're willing to acknowledge that. I'm willing to give you that. But if we get enough signatures, if we really blow this up, we can send a message that this is not the future we want or stand for. If we come together as a community and deny these works canonical status, we can save the message of our franchise. Star Trek is supposed to be a beacon of hope. Now it's just like any other show, pointless violence and bigotry. Especially now, people need hope. People need Star Trek now more than ever because they need a reminder of what we can accomplish. I agree. They need a reminder of what humanity can become if we try. We are losing sight of that utopian future, and we need to get it back. We need to show that it's possible. We need to deny these new messages because they do not match our hope for the future. We need to deny people like Alex Kurtzman the right to tamper with our franchise and its vision. If anything, we need to make a statement. Not to be dramatic, but that's just how I feel about it. Okay. I will honestly say I agree with the thoughts that are being shared here. I do not... And this is somebody saying that I had no problem with the 3 Star Trek films that came out. So Star Trek 2009, Into Darkness, and beyond. I liked all of them. I tend to like Into Darkness a little bit more just because of the interesting changes that they did to Wrath of Khan, but that's just a weird deal. Oh yeah, it's even gaining signatures as we go along. So, I agree with this, and I do think that Alex Kurtzman has done no justice to the Star Trek franchise. But let's go ahead and get back into the story. So, Star Trek Fan Energy created the petition on change.org and declared, as you were probably aware, you have entered a new era of Star Trek, if one could call it that. New Trek or Star Trek Discovery, and yeah, we already read all this. So, you have overwhelming examples of how they're basically changing what Trek was in order to be able to accommodate for new age Hollywood writing. The petition would include a number of examples, and these are the examples that it actually states. Star Trek Discovery betrays the principles upon which Star Trek was based in the past. We've seen Kirk and Picard always offer a helping hand, etc., etc. In Discovery, we see protagonists sadistically torture, call crew members who have died idiots, and belittle others who are below them in rank. So, basically, that is it. I would love to be able to get into a discussion with either Anna G or even some other people who have supported this petition because they're right. It is going against all of the principles that Roddenberry stood for, and that it's frustrating in that regard. I don't agree with Roddenberry. I think a lot of his stuff is unattainable, but the fact that they at least tried to do it. Oh, and here are all the examples that they actually state. Next, it declares, I haven't even gone over the blatant disregard of pre-established canon. So from there, Anna G makes it clear the petition will likely do nothing, which is a good thing to say. It probably won't. But the hope is to send a message to Paramount and save the message of our franchise. Anna G writes, what will this petition do? Probably nothing. But if we get enough signatures, if we really blow this up, we can send a message that this is not the future we want to stand for. If we come together as a community and deny these works canonical status, we can save the message of our franchise. She then states Star Trek is supposed to be a beacon of hope. Yes, especially now, people need hope. People need Star Trek now more than ever because they need a reminder of what we can accomplish, especially what we can accomplish together as a society. And spoiler alert, it's not what we're currently doing. So that being said, it goes on. We are losing sight of that utopian future, and we need to get it back. We need to show that it's possible. We need to deny these new messages because they do not match our hope for the future. We need to deny people like Alex Kurtzman the right to tamper with our franchise and its vision. So if anything, we need to make a statement. Okay. As of writing, the petition has received 46 signatures. It's now up to 6,100, which is good. So I have no problem saying this. I'm going to sign the petition personally because I do think that it actually is harming what made Star Trek amazing to others. In fact, back in the day, Star Trek was the gold standard when it came to sci-fi series. Star Wars was in the theaters, and Star Trek was the gold standard for how sci-fi storytelling should happen in TV situations. Specifically, in my era, it was TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager to an extent, but I tend to keep the two as the bigger mainstays in that. And Enterprise, not really, because they kind of tried to go... I would actually dare say a lot of this started with Enterprise, because they tried to go into that past mindset, and that past mindset was kind of against what Roddenberry wanted as well. So it makes sense to honor what we have currently. And I do think, honestly, Alex Kurtzman has not done any justice in that regard. I've seen a little bit of Discovery. I'm going to go ahead and be honest here, guys. I've seen a little bit of Discovery. I haven't seen Picard, and I have seen a little bit of the Lower Decks. Lower Decks, I agree. It's kind of difficult to put that into canon because it really isn't. It's Family Guy, but Star Trek is really what it is. And frankly, people are going to get mad at me for saying this, but it's not funny. I watched a few episodes and I wasn't laughing. It's just not funny. So that's kind of my viewpoint on the matter, but I do think that making it non-canon would actually be a statement, especially to Paramount. And I don't think that's the message that they want right now. This is the storytelling that they want to do, which is unfortunate because you're basically making Star Trek into The Walking Dead, and it's not that. It's never been that. I mean, again, I look back to the golden era of like TNG and Deep Space Nine, and then think of all the competition that came out around that time and kind of modeled it. Babylon 5 is very philosophical, and I want to say kind of they don't completely adopt the Roddenberry interpretation because there's still economy and everything like that, but they still also tried to keep that message of we look to better ourselves, but also kind of keep it in a more realistic society. Even shows like Sequest tried to do stuff like this and tried to maintain the whole we seek to better ourselves and kind of keep on track with that Trek message. And now that's not even happening anymore. And part of that is just because it's been so long since any kind of Trek has come out. And unfortunately, one of the big things that I also think didn't help this was the new Battlestar Galactica that came out from Ronald D. Moore, where it's way darker and way more tension based. I was looking for the proper words here. It's way more tension based. It's a way different storytelling experience than the original Battlestar Galactica, and that's kind of shaped how sci-fi series happen now. Dude, even Stargate SG-1 still maintained kind of that Star Trek-y message of, okay, Colonel O'Neill needs to learn something at the end of this episode, otherwise we've accomplished nothing. And so at that point, I do agree with this petition. I think it's a good idea. Is it going to get anywhere? Realistically, probably not. I have to be honest in that regard. I don't think it's really going to get anywhere, and that's a sad thing. I would like to see it get somewhere, but it ultimately might not. But I do like the fact it has 6,100 signatures, and I hope that if they get to the 7,500 signatures, they expand it and they just keep the petition growing. Don't just end it at a point and send it into Paramount. Let it continue to grow, because I do think that this is a majority of what a lot of Trek fans think, and that's Trek fans that also like Discovery and also like Picard and just think it's an interesting way to retell a story like that. My family tends to like Picard, but in a lot of cases they like it because it's a different interpretation of Picard, whereas I like the original Picard. I like the stories that he could teach in TNG. I don't necessarily need to see a post-apocalyptic Picard or an Old West Picard, which is really what a lot of Picard looks like. It just looks like a bunch of Old West stuff, which is kind of sad in my honest opinion. But there you go. So I hope that this goes somewhere. I'm more than willing enough to admit it probably won't. Those are technically all the stories that I do have tonight. So I was hoping that maybe we could have a little bit more discussion with this, maybe even have a post show with it. But I still think this is actually a really great kind of digestible podcast for people to be able to enjoy and still tackle a number of stories that we were able to get into. And I welcome you guys. So we have a live chat here, but I also welcome those who are going to be listening later. Feel free to leave a comment and discuss the stories that we actually have here. We had game developer or gaming companies banning Russia, and tell me whether or not you agreed with that. We had Phil Spencer's weird interpretation of how the game development relationship should be. We also had Bendergate ending, as well as the petition to make all of current Trek non-canon. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast for now, so that hopefully this is a nice little snippet that I can take on solo that you guys can enjoy in the meantime until we get to either another big discussion, which we actually do have set up next week, and also getting to that end of the month episode where we can tackle some of the other bigger, more positive stories, because people might have noticed I didn't talk anything Pokemon. Why? Because we're moving that to the end of the month. You don't want me to talk about Pokemon, people. You want Alex and Brinton to talk about it. So, that being said, if you guys want to be able to reach out to me and further the discussion, you can do so either on Twitter or on Instagram on Twitter at GeekyNRO and on Instagram at Drak2326. You can join me there, where I put up funny memes, where I have that discussion, especially in regards to some of these stories. I have put up my opinion on them, and even in some cases had people like Brinton join in on the bad decisions that, for example, Phil Spencer is making in how he's white knighting for the gaming industry. It's not a good idea, Phil. You really should. This is one of those times where Uncle Phil has had too much to drink, and he should really just be sent to bed. So you guys can reach out to me there. If you guys want to be able to follow the podcast directly, the first thing that we ask is you guys sign up to the RSS feed, where everything is. I'm talking about not only the Geek News podcast, but we also have Geek News Movie Night coming up. We're actually getting ready to start that up for 2022. We have Geek News Marathon Night, where we are currently covering Rising of the Shield Hero Season 1, and Geek News Anime Night, where we're covering Season 3 of Fruits Basket. And actually, quick note on that for those who are following this, and maybe I'll even put this on as a little Easter egg for people. There will not be a new episode. So people might have noticed there isn't a new episode this week. We had lots of family stuff kind of come up, including like financial stuff that we needed to take care of. So we were actually not able to sit down and watch an episode of Fruits Basket or a couple of episodes of Shield Hero. We are planning on doing that this weekend, though. So you guys can join us for that. But yeah, so follow the RSS feed. That is the best way to be able to support it. You can also support it on either Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, and Player.fm. We are on all of those, and I'm even expanding that out. Like I just barely said earlier in the stream, we are expanding into Odyssey and Rumble, so you guys can get the live streams that are happening with those. And hopefully you guys have been able to enjoy. Also, you can leave feedback on the podcast as well as suggestions for stories at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that's going to go ahead and do it for me. I hope you guys have had a wonderful evening being able to see this solo. This is probably going to be something that we do a little bit more often with a little less stories and a little bit more discussion in that. I like that idea. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed. For myself and for really nobody else, I will go ahead and call it here, and we will be back hopefully next week with a discussion on the future of esports. We'll see you guys then.